You are being selfish. They are my parents. Of course they need a place to live. Those were my girlfriend Celine's exact words when I confronted her about the fact that her parents have been living in our house for 3 months now, and I just found out they sold their previous home and never intended this to be temporary. My 30M girlfriend, 28F, told me her parents were staying a few weeks, but they actually sold their house and moved in permanently. I had no say in this decision. Let me back up and explain how we got here, because I need outside perspective on whether I am losing my mind or if this situation is as insane as it feels. Celine and I have been together for 4 years, living together for the past 2. Last year, we decided to buy a house together, something I thought represented our commitment to building a future as a team. We split the down payment 50 and 50, and both our names are on the mortgage. We specifically discussed that this would be our space, where we make decisions together about who stays and for how long. The house is a beautiful 3-bedroom suburban home with a nice yard. We were so excited about having space to host friends, maybe start a family someday, create the life we both wanted. Everything was perfect for about 6 months. Then, 3 months ago, Celine casually mentioned over breakfast that her parents might need to stay with us for a few weeks while they figured some things out. She said they were having some unspecified financial difficulties and needed time to get back on their feet. I was not thrilled about the idea, but I understand that family sometimes needs help. A few weeks seemed manageable, and Celine's parents had always been polite to me. I agreed, with the understanding that this was temporary, and we would discuss any extension. What I did not know was that a few weeks was a complete lie. Her parents, Martin and Gloria Harland, moved in with what seemed like an excessive amount of belongings for a short stay. I mentioned this to Celine, who said they just wanted to be comfortable and did not want to keep going back and forth to their place. That should have been my first clue. Within a week, Martin had taken over the garage as his workshop, and Gloria had rearranged our entire kitchen to her preferences. When I mentioned that I could not find anything anymore, Gloria said sweetly that she was just trying to make things more efficient, and I should appreciate having an experienced homemaker around. Celine told me I was being ungrateful and that her mother was just trying to help. By week 3, Martin was giving me a list of home improvement projects that needed to be done. Not suggestions, instructions. Fix the loose board on the deck, replace the weather stripping on the front door, install better lighting in the basement. When I said I would get to them when I had time, he launched into a lecture about how a man takes care of his home, and how in his day, men did not make excuses. I work 50 hours a week in software development. My weekends are precious to me. But suddenly, I was spending every Saturday doing manual labor while Martin supervised and criticized my technique. Celine said I should be grateful to learn from someone with experience. By month 2, Gloria was dictating our grocery shopping, our meal schedule, and even what temperature we kept the house. She would leave me notes about things I needed to pick up from the store, as if I was her personal assistant. Lucian, we are out of the good olive oil. Also, can you stop by the pharmacy for my prescription? And Martin needs that special soap for his eczema. When I suggested that maybe they could handle their own errands, Gloria got teary-eyed and said she did not understand why I was being so cold to them. Celine accused me of being cruel to an elderly woman who was just trying to contribute. For the record, Gloria is 58 and perfectly capable of driving. But the real breaking point came last weekend. I was having coffee with my neighbor Dave, who mentioned that he was surprised to hear the Harlands had sold their house. Martin was telling me about how much they got for it. Must be nice to have that chunk of change in the bank. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Sold their house? Oh, did not Celine tell you? They closed on it about 2 months ago. Martin was saying how relieved he was to finally be done with home ownership and all the responsibilities that come with it. I drove home immediately and confronted Celine. Did your parents sell their house? She would not look at me. We need to talk about that. When were you planning to talk about it, before or after I figured it out myself? They were going to lose it anyway. The sale was their only option to avoid foreclosure. This way they have some money in the bank and a stable place to live. A stable place to live where? Celine, here, with us. For how long? She finally looked at me. For as long as they need, which could be forever. Lucian, they are my parents. Family takes care of family. What about us? What about our relationship? What about the fact that we bought this house to build our life together? You are being incredibly selfish. They have nowhere else to go. They have money from the house sale. They could get an apartment. That money needs to last them for retirement. They cannot just blow it on rent. So our house becomes their free retirement home, and I become their handyman and grocery delivery service. You are being dramatic. They are not asking for much. Not asking for much. I have become a stranger in my own home, working every weekend on projects I did not choose, eating meals I did not plan, living by rules I did not agree to. But I am being dramatic. Why did not you tell me about the house sale? Because I knew you would react like this. Like what? Like someone who deserves to have a say in major decisions about my own living situation? Like someone who does not understand that family comes first? That is when I realized the fundamental problem. In Celine's mind, her family is her priority. I am just the guy who helps pay for it. I have been staying at hotels for the past 3 nights because I cannot handle being in that house. But I cannot keep living out of a suitcase, and I cannot keep paying for a home that I am not welcome in. Reddit, what do I do here? Am I wrong to feel betrayed by this? Is there any way to come back from someone unilaterally deciding that your shared living space is now their family's permanent residence? Update 1. I spent the week staying at a hotel and really thinking about what I wanted from this situation. The more distance I got from the house, the more clearly I could see how completely my life had been hijacked. On Tuesday, I followed some commenters' advice and met with a lawyer, Clive Morrell. He explained that since both Celine and I are on the deed and mortgage, she can just move her parents in permanently without my consent. He also warned that if they stay long-term, they could even gain tenancy rights, which would complicate things further. Clive was clear. They sold their house and moved in without your agreement. That's a serious breach. You have 3 options. Force a conversation with legal backing, serve a formal notice for them to leave, or sell your share and walk away. I chose to start with option 1. The next day, I went back to the house hoping for a rational talk. Instead, I walked into a nightmare. Celine's dad on the couch with his feet on my coffee table, her mom in the kitchen making shopping lists, and Celine doing their laundry. Their laundry. I pulled Celine into the bedroom and told her, I spoke to a lawyer. What you did is illegal. This is my house too, and I never agreed to become your parents' caretaker. She snapped that I was being ridiculous, insisting her parents were helping. I pointed out I was paying all the bills while they criticized, reorganized, and treated the place like their own. So I set a boundary. If they don't move out within 30 days, I'll explore legal options to get out of this situation. I bought this house to build a life with you, not to support your parents. Celine blew up, accusing me of making her choose between me and her family. I told her the truth. You already made that choice when you moved them in without telling me. She started crying. You do not understand. They cannot live alone anymore. My father has been having some health issues, and my mother gets anxious when she is by herself. This was the first I had heard of any health issues, and frankly, Martin seemed perfectly fine when he was barking orders at me about home improvement projects. If they need care, there are assisted living communities. There are services available, but I am not qualified to be their caregiver. And I did not sign up to be their landlord. Those places are expensive. So is maintaining a house. So is paying for their food and utilities and all the other expenses that I have been covering while they contribute nothing. The conversation went in circles for another hour. Every argument I made about fairness, consent, and partnership was met with accusations that I was being selfish and cruel. Finally, she said something that made everything crystal clear. If you really loved me, you would understand that this is what family does. We take care of each other. What about taking care of me? What about considering my feelings or my needs or my comfort in my own home? You are a grown man. You can adapt. And there it was. In her mind, I am supposed to adapt to whatever her family needs, but they are not expected to consider my needs at all. I told her I needed time to think and left. I am back at the hotel, and honestly, I am leaning toward option 3 from my lawyer's list, because I realize now that this is not really about her parents. It is about the fact that Celine does not see me as an equal partner in our relationship. She sees me as a resource to be utilized for whatever her family needs. The woman I thought I was building a future with has turned out to be someone who thinks partnership means I pay for everything, while she makes all the decisions. I am not sure there is any coming back from that update. 2-3 weeks since my last update, and I have officially removed myself from the situation entirely. I am writing this from my new apartment, a peaceful one-bedroom place where I make all the decisions about who enters and how long they stay. After my confrontation with Celine, I gave her exactly what she said she wanted. I chose option 3 and walked away from the house completely. Here is how it went down. I spent 2 days after our fight really thinking about what I wanted from life. Every scenario I could imagine that involved me staying in that house included years of resentment, boundary violations, and being treated like a walking ATM by people who did not respect me. So I called Clive Morrell and told him I wanted to pursue selling my share of the house. "Are you sure?" he asked. "This is a pretty drastic step. Once you are off the deed and mortgage, you cannot get back in if you change your mind. I am sure. I would rather start over than spend the next decade being treated like a tenant in my own home." The process was more complicated than I expected, but not impossible. Since Celine and I were not married, I had the right to force a sale of the property if we could not agree on terms. But first, I had to give her the opportunity to buy me out. I went back to the house one final time to present her with the formal offer. Martin was in the garage reorganizing my tools, and Gloria was redecorating the living room. They had made themselves completely at home in what was supposed to be my home. "Celine, I need you to look at these papers." She took the documents with a confused expression. "What is this?" "It is an offer for you to buy my half of the house. Fair market value, minus half the outstanding mortgage balance. If you agree to this, I will sign over my share and remove my name from all the documents." "You are serious about this?" "Completely serious, Lucian. You cannot just leave. We bought this house together." "Yes, we did, together. But you decided to turn it into your family compound without consulting me. So now I am giving you what you clearly want, a house where you can make all the decisions without having to consider anyone else." She looked at the numbers and her expression changed to panic. "I cannot afford this. The mortgage payments alone are more than my entire salary. Then you should not have moved your parents in permanently without making sure you could support them financially. But where will they live if we have to sell? That is not my problem to solve anymore. You made this choice when you decided that their needs were more important than our partnership." Martin chose that moment to come in from the garage. "What is all the shouting about?" Celine showed him the papers with shaking hands. "Lucian is trying to force us out of the house." Martin looked at me with disgust. "I should have known you would do something like this. What kind of man abandons his family when they need help?" "You are not my family," I said calmly. "And I am not abandoning anyone. I am removing myself from a situation where my needs and feelings are completely ignored." "You are being selfish and immature," Gloria added, appearing from the kitchen. "This is what happens when young people do not understand the value of family." The three of them spent the next hour trying to guilt me into changing my mind. They promised that things would be different, that they would contribute more, that they would respect my space. But it was too little, too late. And frankly, I did not believe them. "You have 30 days to decide," I told Celine. "Either buy me out, or we put the house on the market and split whatever is left." After paying off the mortgage, I left that day and have not been back since. Celine spent 2 weeks trying to find a way to make the finances work. She called her bank about refinancing. She asked family members for loans. She even suggested that I could just temporarily remove my name from the deed while still helping with payments. Every suggestion involved me continuing to subsidize her family while giving up any legal claim to the property. When I declined, she accused me of destroying her family and being vindictive. But here is the thing. I was not being vindictive. I was being practical. After 30 days, she admitted she could not afford to buy me out. We listed the house for sale. It sold within 2 weeks. After paying off the mortgage, closing costs, and various fees, we each walked away with about $40,000. Celine, Martin, and Gloria had to find somewhere else to live on short notice. I heard through mutual friends that they ended up renting a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Apparently, Martin and Gloria are not happy about going from a 3-bedroom house with a garage and yard to cramped apartment living. Celine has been telling people that I abandoned her and destroyed her family's stability because I could not handle sharing space. The narrative she is spinning completely ignores the fact that she moved them in permanently without my consent, that they contributed nothing financially, and that I was being treated like hired help in my own home. But I do not care what story she tells. I know the truth. As for me, I am thriving. My new apartment is smaller than the house, but it is mine. I wake up in the morning and know that no one is going to hand me a list of chores. I can eat what I want, when I want. I can spend my weekends relaxing instead of doing manual labor for people who do not appreciate it. I am sleeping better than I have in months. My stress levels have dropped dramatically. I am actually excited to come home at the end of the day instead of dreading it. Work is going well. I got a promotion last month that I had been too distracted to pursue while dealing with the house situation. I am dating again and meeting people who understand that relationships require mutual respect and consideration. Most importantly, I have learned to recognize and protect my boundaries. I will never again allow someone to make major decisions about my life without my input, no matter how much they try to guilt me about family obligations. The $40,000 from the house sale became the down payment on my new place. Celine's $40,000 apparently went toward deposits and moving expenses for her family's new apartment. Last week, I heard that Martin and Gloria are already complaining about their living situation and asking Celine to find them something better. Apparently, apartment living does not meet their standards, and they miss having a garage and a yard. I also heard that Celine is working 2 jobs now to afford the rent on their new place. Since her parents are still not contributing financially, sometimes I feel bad for her, but then I remember that she chose this situation. She chose to prioritize her parents' comfort over our relationship. She chose to make major decisions without consulting me. She chose to treat me like a wallet instead of a partner. Those were her choices, and now she gets to live with the consequences. As for me, I choose peace. I choose relationships based on mutual respect. I choose to protect my boundaries and my well-being. It was the best decision I ever made. Final update: it has been 6 months since I walked away from the house and the relationship that was slowly suffocating me. And I wanted to give you all a final update on how everything turned out. The short version: I have never been happier. And every day, I am more grateful that I chose to prioritize my own well-being over keeping other people comfortable. The long version: my life has improved in ways I did not even realize were possible. First, the practical stuff. My new apartment has become exactly the sanctuary I hoped our house would be. It is smaller than what Celine and I shared, but every square foot of it reflects my choices and preferences. I have plants that I chose, furniture that I like, and most importantly, complete control over who enters my space and when. I have been promoted twice at work since leaving that situation. My manager actually commented that my focus and productivity have improved dramatically over the past few months. Turns out it is much easier to excel professionally when you are not spending all your mental energy managing family drama at home. I am in a new relationship now with someone named Claire who I met through a hiking group. She is 29, works as a veterinarian, and has her own apartment that she loves. When we decided to start spending more time together, we had actual conversations about boundaries, expectations, and timelines. Novel concept, right? The difference is striking. Claire and I make decisions together. When her brother needed a place to crash for a weekend, she asked me how I felt about it before saying yes. When I wanted to rearrange my living room, I mentioned it to her even though it is my apartment, because her comfort matters to me. That is what partnership actually looks like. Mutual consideration, shared decision-making, basic respect for each other's needs and feelings. But the most important change has been internal. I have learned to trust my instincts again. For years with Celine, I constantly questioned whether my needs were reasonable, whether my boundaries were fair, whether I was being too selfish by wanting basic consideration in my own home. Now I know the truth. Wanting to be consulted about major decisions that affect your life is not selfish. Expecting financial contributors to have a say in household arrangements is not unreasonable. Refusing to be treated like hired help in your own home is not cruel. Those are basic relationship fundamentals, and anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is probably trying to take advantage of you. As for Celine and her family, I have gotten occasional updates through mutual friends, and the situation has played out exactly as I expected. Martin and Gloria spent about 3 months complaining about their apartment before pressuring Celine to find them something better. She ended up taking on a third part-time job to afford a larger rental house where they could have more space. But even that was not enough. According to our mutual friend Jake, they have been pushing Celine to buy another house so they can have stability and build equity instead of throwing money away on rent. The problem is that Celine cannot qualify for a mortgage large enough to buy the kind of house they want, since she is now their sole financial support. Her credit has also taken a hit from carrying so much debt relative to her income. Last month, Jake told me that Martin and Gloria have been suggesting that Celine find a nice man with good credit who could help them buy a house. Apparently, they have been encouraging her to date specifically with an eye toward finding someone who could solve their housing situation. The irony is perfect. They are literally looking for someone to do exactly what I was doing, provide financial stability while they make all the decisions about living arrangements. Jake also mentioned that Celine has been asking about me, how I am doing, whether I am dating anyone, if I ever mention missing her. When Jake told her I was happy and thriving, her response was apparently, "He was so good to my family. I do not understand why he had to be so stubborn about everything." Even now, she does not get it. She still sees my refusal to subsidize her parents indefinitely as stubbornness rather than self-respect. About 2 months ago, Celine actually tried to contact me directly. She sent a long email talking about how she had learned a lot about relationships and wondering if we could try again with better communication this time. The email was full of promises about how things would be different, how she understood now that she had not been considerate enough of my feelings, and how she wanted to rebuild what we had. Notably absent from the email was any mention of her parents or their living situation. I did not respond immediately. I showed the email to Claire, who read it and said, "She is not actually apologizing for what she did. She is apologizing for how you reacted to what she did. There is a difference." Claire was right. Celine was not saying I was wrong to move my parents in without consulting you. She was saying I should have been more sensitive about how hard the transition was for you. Those are completely different things. One acknowledges a violation of trust and partnership. The other treats my reaction as an unfortunate side effect of a decision she still believes was correct. I deleted the email without responding because the truth is, I do not miss that relationship. I miss the idea of what I thought that relationship was, but I do not miss the reality of constantly having my needs dismissed and my boundaries violated. I do not miss feeling like a stranger in my own home. I do not miss working weekends on projects I did not choose while being criticized for my technique. I do not miss paying for everything while being told I should be grateful for the privilege. I do not miss being in a relationship where family comes first, meant Lucian comes last. The life I have built since leaving is proof that I never needed anyone else's permission to be happy. I needed to give myself permission to prioritize my own well-being, to set boundaries, and to walk away from situations that were not serving me. 6 months ago, I was a 30-year-old man who had somehow become a live-in handyman and ATM for people who did not respect him. Today, I am someone who knows his worth and refuses to accept less than he deserves. That transformation did not happen because someone else changed. It happened because I finally chose myself.